If you're looking for professional day trading education and high-level trade analysis and dissection, you've come to the right place. My name is Pat Mitchell, and today we are going to be talking about a really big loss that I took. I'm going to be discussing that. I'm going to talk about the reset trade. I'm going to be talking about a lot of things that I think are really important. So I hope you guys are paying attention. So now that we're into the charts, we're going to be going over quite a few things. Now, I want to leave this up for a second just for transparency, and then I want to blow up my charts because I know the way that this streams, it's kind of difficult to really see these charts, and I want to go over some detail with you guys. Right here, my Q's trade, which I will go over, was negative $29,350. That second red that you see there, that is a fat finger for 500. I don't generally count fat fingers. I don't care about that. Consider it scratch. And then my redemption trade was positive plus $58,100. So walking away with roughly $30,000 in profits. So now I want to show you guys, and we're going to talk about this in detail. So first off, the trade plans here this morning was to focus mainly on SPY. So why did I take Qs? I obviously have a duty to my members to give them the least risky trades with the least amount of risk possible. Now, in Qs has way more risk. If you take a look here, its maximum at that time, its maximum risk was there. Okay. So by the time you were to stop out on that, you're almost 2 points. That's too wide, especially when SPY is offering this trade instead. Executing pops up, execute this level, and then risk off of pre-market highs. It worked out to 1 point. So that's why I'm saying to take SPY. SPY was a far superior trade in that respect. Now, on Qs, I like the way Qs shot up from lows. From lows straight up, and it got real crazy. It's one of the reasons why I decided to execute that. Now, I didn't say that. The trade plan was to take SPY instead. Now, both had the same result. It's fine, is what it is. But that's why I just want to fill you guys in. So on Qs, because I was risking off of these highs, right here, it just wanted to keep going. And at some point, you have to get out. Now, and I've said this publicly a lot, I will never stop out on a trade where there is that relationship between distance and retracement, which it had from lows all the way to highs. It will start developing a range, and it did. It did do that. The problem with Qs here on this one is the range started developing a lot higher. It's too high, and by the time you would correct this, you would manage that trade. Watch my previous videos if you want to know the difference between trading and management. To manage this trade, you're looking at a strike price that's almost 3 strikes away from entry. It's too far. So right at that moment, okay, so I'm stopping out right here. Right here is where I stopped out on Qs and ate that negative 30K. So I want you guys to, you see this white cursor that moves on both charts. I want you to take a look at where I stopped out on SPY. Okay, so I stopped out on Qs, but where is it in relation to SPY there? So on SPY, it's right at my entry. That's where I entered that secondary trade. So I cut Qs, I got out of that, ate that loss. Immediately entered into my next opportunity, which is this trend level. Okay, right here, right at that level. That's my next opportunity. Now, I said right here, as it's coming into this, and it was still flying, I said, it's going to start developing its range. And I've talked about this a lot. I know where these will start developing a range, and they're not going to shoot any further. Okay. So I know sometimes, and I just want to like backtrack a little bit. It's very difficult when you are a new trader where you lack that experience, and that's not condescending. That's just what it is. That's how it is. Don't get your ego panties in a knot. When you lack that experience, it can be very difficult when someone with over a decade of experience is showing you something that looks fucking crazy. And he's telling you it will not go any further. It will develop a range, meaning it can come up higher, but it's not going to keep going. There's a difference. Okay. So that's what you have to understand. There's 11 years experience doing this and trading the exact same way on the exact same stocks for the entire time I've been trading. I know these things like the back of my hand. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that you still won't have losses like I did this morning, but you know how to get that back. That's why I have the consistency and the hit rate that I do. So on this one here, I stop out on cues, immediately enter into SPY. There's going to be a bunch of lessons in this, so I might be a little bit all over the place. Let's talk about sizing, okay? So if I just chewed up a $30,000 loss, I need to position myself for not just a $30,000 gain. I now need to position myself for a 2-to-1 ratio. So I need to make $60,000 on this trade. How did I do it? How did I know exactly how much I would make in this trade? It's actually a lot easier than you think. Let me explain. So let's talk about the relationship between distance and retracement. It's something I talk about a lot on this channel. I probably shouldn't. I probably should just be keeping that to members. But you're going to be missing quite a few key ingredients because I don't have an hour to explain it to you. But let's take a look. From lows, and this is where you always take that, even if it's pre-market. So from lows, it came straight up. So right in here, that is its distance. That is its full distance without a proper pullback, right? My target on this was pre-market highs. Do you guys see what percentage of a retracement that is? Now, I want to do that again because my entry was here. So that's where I'm entering. That's where I'm sizing. Where is that? That is a 50% retracement. That's what it'll give me. Okay, at a minimum. That's minimum. Now, when I say minimum, it could be 44%. It could be 52%. It's going to be real close. Okay, let's not split hairs. So how do I know when it's going to develop its range, what direction it's going to pick? Because there's only two outcomes that can happen when we start developing these ranges. How do I know it's going to choose down instead of up? Well, the short answer is I don't. Nobody does. We would need a crystal ball. But what we do have in our favor is odds. Okay. And again, it boils down to distance and retracement. For this to consolidate and choose up as its direction with still no proper pullback or retracement, you're looking at probably a less than 1% chance of that happening. Okay. You have a huge line of success for it choosing to come down and retrace into pre-market highs at a minimum. Okay. Now, was I watching this all day long? This is the next lesson for this. No. In fact, in the afternoons, especially when I am in a trade like this, I will take a nap in the office. Down here in Costa Rica, it's way too hot during the afternoon to do fucking anything. So I pass out for a little bit. And because I'm in a position and I want to keep eyes on it, I sleep right there. I've got a mattress, throw on the fucking ground, and I know my timing of my body. From the second I close my eyes, when my head hits that pillow, I know I have 1 hour. And in exactly 1 hour, plus or minus 10 minutes, my eyes are going to open. I'm going to wake up. I don't need to set an alarm. And I know I went to bed right around here. Don't know the exact minute. Right around here. That's where I close my eyes. It's still pissing around. I don't want to stare at this thing. I've talked about what I'm about to talk about now a million times as well. We only are capable of making so many decisions during a day that are the right decision. At some point, you will get decision fatigue. which is very difficult to say. So if you know this, we need to combat against that. And the way to do that is walk away. Now, I'm not saying go to sleep. I'm not saying take a nap, but you need to walk away from these charts. Now, some of you might ask, well, did you set a hard stop? No, I don't set hard stops in this. Not when trading options. If I was in on the equity, I absolutely would, because it's very easy to control. With options, I don't know how long this is going to consolidate for. And I could, by this point here, I can be stopped out by here through time decay. So I won't do that. Now, some of you that are lacking experience, again, may think that's fucking crazy. It isn't. And let me go back again to the main lesson. Distance and retracement. We have not got a proper retracement yet. In the entire day, from pre-market lows, it hasn't retraced properly yet. It won't do that. It needs to retrace. Now, you might be asking, well, why didn't you stick around in Qs? I could have, but the problem with Qs of how much distance it had and how much it squeezed up before it wanted to start developing this range, you're 3 strikes away. It's too far. You're best just eat the loss, no matter what the loss it is, and then size appropriately to get it back here. So now the next question you might have is, well, how do you know it's going to fall apart like that? Like it's going to come down that much? Easy. I want to show you guys something. Do you see all of these areas at this trend? Remember, this is a valid level up here that it's riding. How many retail longs do you think are buying up here? A lot. There's no entry for a long, yet they will go long up there. So the second that breaks, all of that volume, let's discuss volume in, volume out. Now, I'm not going to be using perfect numbers, but it's a good way to wrap your head around the idea I'm trying to give you guys. So on this here, let's say all of these opportunities to go long, even here, let's say that equals 1,000 shares. And again, I know I shouldn't have to repeat this, but I will. I know it's more than 1,000 shares. 1,000 shares in total of how many people went long up here. Once this breaks, all of these longs, because most retail traders do not work with a plan and risk, they don't have a risk strategy as well. So they will stop out the second that breaks. Once that breaks, you will have all 1,000 of these shares come tumbling down. They will sell them. Now let's talk about the real numbers. I'm sure we would all agree that each of these longs in here would easily total millions of shares. So you will have millions of shares sold, which will give you speed to the downside. I've talked about that lots. And that'll give me at least my target. Now, I woke up, and it's fucking hilarious. I woke up just as, and I swear, hand to God, I woke up just as it ticked that low. It just ticked that low. Literally perfect timing. And yes, that perfect is going to be a little bit of, luck. I know my body, though. I know how long I'm going to fall asleep for without setting alarms. I know how much time I have to get it into pre-market highs. Okay, so timing was about 2 minutes off on that. I opened my eyes right there. I took it off here because as soon as my eyes opened, that candle popped. It sucked up, closed. Next candle opened and pushed to here, and I got out. Fucking killer trade, man. Now, there are going to be some of you, again, that will look at this like that's super risky. I promise you, I will do this again with no stress, and the result will be the same. This happens day in and day out, day in and day out. If you have fear when you're looking at these charts, or when you're looking at someone else that does obviously have a lot of experience, and you're not listening to them for that experience, you're just kind of like projecting your own fear onto that situation, there's a remedy for fear, and it's called education. It's called information. That's the only reason why we fear anything. Think about it. Think about the very first time you jumped in a car. You were probably pretty excited, but you had some fear. That's because of your lack of understanding and lack of education, lack of experience, right? That's what that is. So come to tricktrades.com and get educated. And for those that don't, continue watching my free stuff, no problem. But you do have to like and you do have to subscribe. But for the real guys out there that want to get this done, come to tricktrades.com. Adios, folks.